Hello everybody. You can see from the title of this slide that we're going to be talking about a type of analysis question today. You've already studied how to answer understanding questions when you're doing close reading. Understanding questions involve you putting the information in the passage into your own words. Analysis questions are a little bit different. They ask you to analyse the writer's word choice, imagery, sentence structure or tone. Now today we're only going to focus on word choice, but it's worth stopping for a minute and just thinking, what do we mean by analyse? Well, in English, when we're talking about analysing, we mean thinking about why a writer has written something in a particular way, why they have used that language, why they have used that way of saying it or writing it, and the effect that that has. So when you're tackling analysis questions, or if you're writing a square and you're analysing a quotation, you have to think about what the writer has said and why and what effect that it has. Okay? Now, as I said, today we're going to focus just on word choice, but generally with any analysis question, so if you're asked about word choice or imagery or sentence structure or tone, you will get 1 mark for quoting an example and 1 mark for actually doing the analysing. But we're going to go through that in a bit more detail, so come along with me today. Let's think about keywords. If you're doing a close reading, there will often be keywords in the question that will help you to work out what type of question that it is. For analysis questions, you're looking out for words like analyse, by referring to examples of language, and that tends to mean quote, and by referring to examples of word choice, imagery, sentence structure, or tone. All of those words give you a clue that this is an analysis question where you're going to have to quote and explain in order to get marks. So today, and with this video and this slideshow, we're focusing on word choice questions. So, what is word choice? When we talk about word choice in English, we mean the specific words a writer chooses to create a certain description or emphasise a certain idea. That might sound a little bit confusing, but all it really means is that when writers are writing, they choose their words carefully. They want their words to have a particular effect. They want their words to conjure up a particular picture in your mind, and so they choose the words they are using carefully so that that will happen, so that that will create a particular picture or impression in your mind. And what you're being asked to do is to think about what words they have used and why they have used them. When we analyse word choice, we analyse the connotations of words. Now, connotations is a very important term that you're going to use as you go forward all through your time in English. We use this right from the beginning of school right up to higher. The connotations of a word is what the word makes us think about. Now that is different from the denotation. The denotation is the dictionary meaning of the word. So if you look the word up in a dictionary, what would you find? Sometimes words have similar denotations but completely different connotations. Now so far that might sound a little tricky. Let's try and think about some examples, and this will hopefully help it become a little bit clearer. But just remember, a denotation is actually what the word means, what you would find if you look the word up in a dictionary. Connotations are what the word suggests or what it makes you think about. Now, here are some examples. There are 3 words here, and they all have the same or a similar denotation. They all mean somebody who is below average weight. So we have underweight, skinny, and slim. And there's 2 questions here for you to think about. Which one sounds the most positive, and which one sounds the most negative? If you were going to give somebody a compliment, which word would you use? If you were going to criticise somebody, or if you are worried about them, which word would you use? That helps us to understand the difference between denotation and connotation. We might say that a word like slim, for example, has got very positive connotations. It's the type of word that you would use if you were complimenting somebody. The word underweight has got more negative connotations. You would use that perhaps if you're suggesting that somebody might seem as if they're a little bit ill or not well. So these words have got the same denotation, they mean being below average weight, but they've got different connotations. And if a writer was wanting to create a particular impression of a character, they would pick the example that had the connotations that matched the character they were trying to create. So here we see, underweight suggests somebody ill or unhealthy, skinny suggests somebody very thin or bony, and slim suggests somebody healthy and attractive. All of these words have got different connotations. Writers choose their words based on their connotations, what they will make the reader think about. Here are some more examples. The words below can all be used to describe a higher than average temperature, so they all have the same denotation, but they have different connotations. I want you to choose 3 words from the table, so you don't have to choose all of these words, just 3 will do, and write 2 or 3 connotations for each one. So try to pick out 3 words that you think have got slightly different connotations. So you can choose between boiling, sweltering, roasting, scorching, muggy, stifling, warm, and humid. Now, without giving you the answers, I think some of these sound quite pleasant. I wouldn't mind being somewhere where that was what the temperature was. For some of the others, it sounds very, very unpleasant. Some sound sort of warm. Some sound sort of dry. Have a think carefully and make a note in your class notebook of what you think the connotations of 2 or 3 of these examples are. Here's another example for you to practice. We have another set of words here. This time it's 8 words instead of 6. They are all positive ways to describe somebody's appearance, but even though they're all positive, they have slightly different connotations. So pick at least 3 examples. You can pick more if you like. And in your class notebook or in your jotter, write down a few connotations for each one. Some of them are maybe more complimentary than others. Which words would you most likely to be called? Or which words do you think are most impressive? Now, hopefully you should have an understanding of the difference between denotation and connotation. If you're not sure, maybe go back and have another look at the previous examples again. If you are sitting a close reading, there are some steps that you must follow if you're asked about word choice. And you'll always follow these steps in the same way. Step 1, you quote the word. Remember, when we're quoting a word, we put it in speech marks. It will almost always be a single word as well. When we're doing word choice, you're going to be talking about a single word almost all of the time. Step 2, you say suggests. And then step 3, list at least 3 connotations of the word and make sure you have answered the question. This will depend on the words of the question you've been asked. To get 2 marks, you must have completed all 3 steps for 1 word. That might seem confusing. Let's look at an example and then you can always listen to this explanation again. So here's a sentence. The boy swaggered into the classroom. Here's a question. Show how the writer's word choice highlights that the boy is confident. And it's a 2-mark question. The first thing that you're going to have to do is think about which word highlights that the boy is confident. You will get a mark just for picking that word by itself. Then you will have to say suggests, and then you will have to give some connotations. Since this is the first example, I'm going to give you a little bit of help. Did you spot what the word was? The important word here is swaggered. Usually, if you're picking a word to comment on, it's going to be a word that is slightly more unusual. A word like classroom doesn't have very many connotations. So you'll start by writing the word swaggered suggests. You've already got 1 mark at this point. Then you're going to have to give 3 connotations of the word swaggered and say that that highlights that the boy is confident. So what does the word swaggered suggest to us? I would say that it suggests somebody who is confident, perhaps overconfident, who is taking their time, and who maybe thinks they're a bit better than other people. Perhaps they're a little bit disrespectful or think that they are the most important person in the room. So you might write something like, the word swaggered suggests somebody who is overconfident and perhaps a bit disrespectful, who thinks they're better than other people, and this suggests that the boy is confident. Here's another practice question. The girl looked at her diamond happily as it glistened in the sun. Your question is to analyse what the writer's word choice tells us about the girl's diamond. You've got more than one option here that you could pick, so think carefully about which word you're going to talk about and what it suggests. Practice 3. He arrived on the beach and he looked around. It was peaceful and it was secluded. Analyse the writer's word choice to show how it creates a nice impression of the beach. Again, you have got more than one option that you could talk about, so choose the word that you think you could give more connotations for. I'll give you a little help. You're probably going to pick either peaceful or secluded. Make sure you know what secluded means if you pick it. And think about what that suggests about the beach. Try and picture it in your mind. Practice 4. The storm came moving in from the west and it brought with it ferocious winds. There was deafening thunder and torrential rain. And here you have to analyse what the writer's word choice tells us about the storm. Now, it's a 2-mark question, but for some extra challenge, you could always try and write a couple of answers here, because there are at least 3 different words that you could comment on. If there are any words that you don't know the meaning of, you could look them up before you try answering this question. So give that a go. Practice 5. The supporters' behaviour was absolutely disgusting. They chanted vile abuse and their language was completely unacceptable. Here you have to analyse how the writer's word choice highlights his opinion of the fans. Again, you've got more than one option that you could pick. Think about the words that the writer is using to describe how the fans are talking. Think about what that suggests about what he thinks about the fans, and remember to follow the word choice formula. So, quote the word in speech marks, suggests, and then go on to say how that highlights his opinion of the fans. Make sure you say what the writer's opinion of the fans is. I'll give you a clue. Clearly he doesn't like the fans. He thinks their behaviour is very bad. Make sure that's clear in your answer to the question. Practice 6. The planet is in peril. Many species are close to extinction, and many animals' habitats are being destroyed by humans. The Earth is in for an uncertain future. Here you have to analyse how the word choice highlights the writer's concerns about planet Earth. Now, this is a slightly trickier question. You might want to think about what the writer's concerns are. The writer seems very concerned about the environment and the environment is being damaged. So you should pick words that relates to the fact that the writer thinks that the earth is in danger and the environment is being damaged. So you might want to pick a word like peril or extinction. And again, when you're answering, use the word choice formula, but make sure that at the end of your answer, you make clear what the writer's concerns are, that the planet is in danger, that it's being damaged. Practice 7. Some people argue that schools don't teach anything particularly useful. Too many subjects teach things that are irrelevant to everyday life. They teach things that cannot be used beyond the school gates. Here, you have to analyse how the writer's word choice highlights the problem with schools. This is the writer's opinion about what the problem with schools is. I hope you don't agree. So, first of all, you have to work out what the writer does think the problem with schools is. Okay, so I'll let you work that one out yourself. And then which words show that that's their opinion, and then you have to give the connotations. But remember to follow the formula. Quote the word. After the word, write suggests, give a few connotations, and explain how that highlights what the writer thinks the problem is. Make sure you say what the writer thinks the problem is, or your answer isn't going to make sense. Okay, well done for getting this far. We've done an awful lot today. You're going to have a chance going on to try some of these questions using a form where you'll get actual specific marks back. Just now, if there's anything you don't understand, if you're not sure about anything, get in touch on Teams and let us know so that we can give you a bit of extra help. And put your answers into class notebook, please, with these questions. Good luck, everybody, and I'll hear from you soon, hopefully.